everybody. I'm going to show you how to make this fingerless mitt. It's really, really simple. And the cool thing about it is you can actually wear it both ways. Okay, so you can have your rim around your fingers or your rim around your waist. So today I'm using this 8-ply wool, multicolored, a 3.5mm hook, and I do use American terms. So I'm going to start off by making a slip knot and chaining 30. 3, 4. When you're finished the chain, slip stitch to the first chain to form a ring, making sure that you don't twist the thread, the wool. So I'm going to start the next 2 rows by starting with a chain, 1 chain stitch. I'm going to do 2 rows now of half double crochet. So starting 1 half double crochet and 2, and so on. And when you get to the end of the row, slip stitch into the first half double crochet of the round. I have the first round of half double crochets done, and I'm going to slip stitch to the first half double crochet of the round, chain 1 and do another round. Now if you want to make your mitten bigger or smaller, you can just add stitches onto the chain or delete stitches, as long as you have multiples of 5. So I'm doing 30 because that fits my wrist, but you can do whatever amount that fits the mitten that you're trying to make. So you just continue round and slip stitch to the first half double crochet of this second round of half double crochets. So that's the 2 half double crochet rounds. Now in order to make this rim that sets it sort of different from the rest of the mitt, I'm going to do into the back of the half double crochets a single crochet. So how I do this is I chain 1 to start the round, and into the back stitch, so you have your little V shape here, and in the back of it there should be another stitch. So into the back, the very back, I'm going to do 1 single crochet, and I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the back of every half double crochet of the previous round, and you will see very quickly that that starts to stick out, and it makes it like a nice rim on the mitt. And so you continue on around, and again, like every other round, slip stitch to the first single crochet of this round to complete round 3. So now I have that complete, I'm going to start into the shell stitch for the main part of the mitt. So to do the shell stitch, I'm going to be working in, each shell is going to take up 5 stitches. So to start off, chain 3, and this counts as the first double crochet because we're now doing double crochets, and into that same stitch do 2 double crochets, and this is half of a shell, or just slightly over half of a shell, because there's 5 double crochets in each shell. Then what you need to do is skip 1 stitch and slip stitch into the next stitch. Okay, then you're going to skip 2 stitches and into the 3rd stitch along do 5 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all into the same stitch, and then skip 1 stitch and slip stitch into the next stitch. Again, skip 2 stitches and do 5 double crochets into that stitch, all into the same stitch. So that's 3, 4, and 5. Skip 1 stitch and slip stitch into the next stitch. So now you're starting to get your shells, your shell shapes. And the first one you did is half a shell. So you finish that when you come round to the start. So you continue doing that, skipping 2 stitches, 5 into the 3rd stitch along, skip 1 stitch and slip stitch into the next stitch. And do that right the way back round, and I will show you how to finish off the half shell that we did at the beginning of the round. So I've come back round to the beginning. I've done 5 double crochets into this stitch. I'm going to skip 2 and I'm going to slip stitch into this last stitch. And then at the beginning you only had 3 double crochets in the first stitch. So to finish off that cluster, I'm going to do 2 more double crochets. And then I am going to slip stitch into the first chain 3 of the round. So you then have a complete shell. For the second row of shells, you are now starting in the top of the first shell. And in between the shells, there is this stitch here, and you're going to put your 5 double crochets into that stitch. So you put 5 double crochets in between the 2 shells. That's 3, 4, and 5. And then what you do is you count 3 double crochets of the next shell, and in the middle one, you're going to slip stitch. So now you have 1 shell in between 2 shells. Okay, now what you're going to do is, again, you're going to put 5 double crochets into the middle of 2 shells to form another shell. 3, 4, and 5. So that's 5 double crochet make up a shell. I've only 4 there, 1 more, and 5. And again, slip stitch to the middle stitch of this shell here. And you slip stitch. And you continue that right round to the beginning. And I'll meet you round at the end or the beginning. Come near the end of this row, I'm just slip stitching into the top of the shell below. And I have 1 shell left to do. And it goes in between these 2. So for every second row you complete with a full shell. So row in 3, for example, start off with 1 double crochet and 1 chain and 2 double crochet into the same stitch. So that's 3, 4, and 5, and slip stitch to the top of this one here, and you're back at the start again. Okay, so that's row 2. So on the other mitt, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 rows before I made a hole for the thumb. So for row 3, you start off again like row 1 by chaining 3, which counts as a double crochet, and into the same spot, doing 2 more double crochets for slightly over half a shell, and then slip stitching to the top of the shell beside it, right in the middle. Whoops. And then you continue on doing your shell, 5 double crochet shell in between each shell of the previous round. And when you are finished doing 4 rows, I will meet you back and show you how to shape the thumb. So I actually did 5 rows of clusters, not 4, which I put up on the bottom of the screen. And now I'm going to make a thumb hole. So how I'm going to start off this row is I'm going to start off the same way as all the rest of the rows, and I'm in the middle of a cluster, so I'm going to start off by putting a 5 double crochet cluster shell here. So that's 2, 3, 4, and 5, and slip stitching to the middle crochet stitch of the next shell. Now, instead of putting 5 double crochets into the middle of this, I'm going to make a thumb hole, and I'm going to do that by chaining 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skipping across all of these stitches to the middle stitch of the next cluster, and slip stitching into the stitch like that. And that will be your thumb hole. And then you just continue on doing your clusters right the way around, and I'll show you how to do the next round and how to put your cluster into this line here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do across the chain 5 of the thumb hole, and I'm in the middle of 2 clusters, so I start off by doing 3 double crochets, or 3 chains, sorry, and 2 more double crochets into the same spot, and slip stitching to the top of the cluster, and then in to the edge just before this chain 5, I'm doing 5 double crochet again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to slip stitch into the middle chain. So 1, 2, 3. So into this chain here, I'm going to slip stitch. And then I'm just going to do 5 on the other end. So you just behave as if it was the middle of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you continue on doing rounds of clusters of shells until it is long enough for your hand. Now for me, I did 6 altogether after the thumb hole. But if your hand is longer than mine, so I have quite short hands, you can do as many as you like. And again, if you want to make your mitt bigger or smaller, you just start off your chain in multiples of 5. Okay, and I will meet you back near the end of the mitt. So this is it complete. You can make your wrist longer, the band here. You can make this longer, you can make it wider, you can make it smaller. If you use a bigger hook, it makes it bigger without having to do more stitches, and obviously a smaller hook, smaller. Really, really, really simple to make, and this is what it looks like when it's on and complete. So simple, takes 20 minutes to half an hour to make if you're fast enough. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give me a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.